guys. Nice to meet you all. I'm CEO of Conker, and we believe we're the future of data analytics. I'm probably going to go to a bit of business speak, so I apologise already for that. Basically, we're trying to help companies derive real value from big data to understand what's driving people's behaviours underneath the data.
Why do you apologise for business speak?
I just don't do it for that, but I won't do that anymore.
No, but I'm serious.
Yeah.
Why do you feel bad about delivering a business speech?
I don't read it, sorry for that. But anyway, one of the big issues addressing businesses obviously are things like acquisition, retention, conversion rates of their customers. So why are my customers leaving is a fundamental problem that's affecting businesses worldwide. And if we take specific examples such as Telefonica, well, as mobile operators in Ireland, they traditionally have a churn rate of about 30%. So that means in Ireland, over 2 million customers every 18 months shift from one operator to another. And that's a big problem. That's basically Croke Park, which is our big 8,000 seater stadium, 28 times over, moving from one company to another every 18 months. And they're really struggling to actually stop this happening. People want the service, but they're obviously shifting service providers. So something's happening with their experience with those businesses that they're not enjoying. And that's $600 million, or euros rather, in revenue. That's just moving around, slushing around the country that nobody can pin down. And one of the main reasons we believe this is happening is because the data analytics tools they're using are actually fundamentally broken. They're basically time inefficient, they're costly, and they're not accurate. And that's because they've been built at a time when big data wasn't a problem. You've increasing amounts of data points on customers coming in, but they're continuing to use the same old systems, which require you to cut down the amount of data you're using. So we don't believe that in Conker that's the smart thing to do. You've got all this data, increasing amounts of data coming in on customers, on people's behaviours. You want to create a system that lets you actually expose and use all that new valuable information. So what we do is we provide tailor-made experiences for customers. We do this by providing insights. So we do automated behaviour analysis using all the data that we can gather on customers. We then provide actions using a real-time messaging platform that lets you interact with customers, be it in a mobile network, in a game, be it in a retail or e-commerce setting, so that you can understand what the behaviours that are leading people to do things are, and then actually interact with them and suggest recommendations for them.
Can you give an example of that?
So an example of that would be in the telco situation. If you know somebody's ringing, for example, your competitor phone numbers, they're in a particular location, they're on a street that's near a competitor shop, and you've seen from their browsing history that they've actually been, looking at competitors' website offers, that should trigger an alert back into their customer care team to tell them, what you need to do. You need to do an outbound call to this customer. You need to tell them, we value your business. Here's a handset upgrade. Do what is necessary to actually understand why they're going to get away from you. So that's what we do. We start detecting what are the behaviours that look like somebody's going to churn, that look like somebody might even buy an upgrade, right? So that the business can react to them when you get the customer when they're the right mental frame. But the really exciting stuff is actually the foresight, the prediction. So that what we can do is we can look at somebody before they've even made that decision. You start saying, okay, they're 10% down the track of somebody who's likely to turn away from us. Let's start interacting with them now based on the expected behaviour they're going to exhibit down the road. So it gives you, what it means for the end user, the actual consumer on the customer end, is they start getting really tailor-made experiences.
There's a bit of rumor here about you telling about peeking into someone's browser history.
All within data privacy. All within data privacy. We even have a chief data officer. So our solution, we actually we hash everything to pieces, basically. We are very, very. We don't want people personally identifiable information as much as possible. We do actually. We just recently appointed a chief data officer, though, who has 10 years' experience writing Bank of Ireland's data protection policies here in Ireland, has set up all their frameworks. So we're building an infrastructure internally that will deal with that and make sure that we don't fall foul of anything we don't want to fall foul of.
Are all your customers business people? Do you have any government bodies that might use your services?
Not yet. Yeah, we're more than happy to. Like I said, we believe our solution is can work anywhere where you've got data on people and you're just trying to figure out why they're doing what they're doing. And our whole back end has been built in such a way that actually allows us to take data in from any data source. All we need to know is the timestamp, person ID basically, and what the event is that they're doing, and some attributes, and from that we can generate a lot of information and insights and recommendations. So I'll come to our current beta customers, and our beta program goes live next week, are all businesses, they're games companies or Telefonica. We've talked to e-commerce, banking, financial services, insurance, a lot of companies in that space. I myself was over again last week talking about kind of open innovation stuff over there as well, sitting there. So we definitely talk to anybody about that. They're basically our customers. So why is this, in particular around the prediction, why are we doing it slightly differently? So if you're trying to do predictive modeling today, you've got some pretty big hurdles in an enterprise to handle. First of all, you're probably going to spend a couple of million IBM, SAP, SAS, one of the big guys, just to come in and do an installation of your work. And you can spend anywhere between 9 months and 3 years doing full integration into your back-end systems. So before you've done anything, you've spent millions of euros and you've got 3 years down the road and you still haven't seen anything. But then the real fun begins, because you decide you want to do a predictive model on why people are crossing the road, whatever it might be. The first thing you need to do is, okay, come up with the framework of the project. That's not too difficult. I want to understand how we create a predictive model that's going to tell me when people are going to churn. The big problem is in data preparation. An entity like O2 here, Telefonica, have 40 different systems with information on their customers. What they need to do is pull all that information together. They may have hundreds of variables that actually are showing the underlying behavior of customers, and then a human, an individual decides, well, basically because the predictive models that we use, we can only use 12 to 20 variables. So you've got hundreds of data points, and then the person gets involved and decides, well, these are 12 things I think that are actually twisting the dial based on good instinct, experience, an intuitive understanding of the data. And then you need to spend a couple of weeks building and deploying the model. And at the end, what you get is a report. You basically get a report saying, oh, you predicted some people to move, and they did, or they didn't. And this will take you 70 days on average to go through that whole process. So you spent a lot of money getting the system up and running. You spent a lot of time getting it integrated, and then you can wait the best part of 3 months. If you're a power user, you know what you're doing to get any kind of result. And then if you're lucky, you're talking about 0.25%, you're talking about small incremental changes that you manage to figure out. We do prediction in a very different way. We fundamentally believe that the key prediction is to actually watch people in their natural environment and understand what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it, and then build a prediction out from that. And to be able to build up a really good picture of somebody, you want to collect as much data as possible. So we've already done an integration to a tool called Flurry, which is one of the most used market analytics tools for mobile apps. We've got 2.8 billion app sessions a day running through their system. This means that we get access to anybody who's using Flurry data can use us. We'll use Google Analytics in the future, KISS metrics, various other panel metrics tools. We'll just integrate them. What that does is that gives us data. What we then do is we automate a lot of processes. So what we do is we collect all these data points in, your hundreds of thousands of different data points on customers, and we start doing some pretty clever machine learning techniques on that stuff to figure out what are the actual key variables that are driving behavior in there. So we remove the human out of the process. We don't make a judgment call. We let the data make a call as to what are the important things that are actually moving those dials. So our solution, instead of handling 10 to 12 variables, can handle hundreds, thousands, in the future possibly millions of variables on each customer. And what this allows us to do is create really fine-grained behavioral segments. So we're building up groups of behaviors around people that aren't just based traditionally on things like demographics, such as their age, nationality, things like that, or on their basic metrics, how much they spend, how much time they spend on the phone, things like that, but actually on the actions they're performing. What is it they're actually doing? What numbers are they calling? What websites are they going? Where are they physically located? Things like that. And we can start building up a full behavioral picture of somebody and not just a numbers picture. And what we then do is we actually, and you'll see in our dashboard, we provide them with instant results. Because we're doing this on an ongoing basis, our process is running the whole time, which allows us to provide predictions basically on a daily basis as to how we believe these finely grained behavioral segments are going to behave in the future and what you should do with them to improve their experience with you. So the view is quite different to a normal analytics dashboard. We believe what we basically show is a path to somebody's journey in the system. So this is an example of within a game. So you have, this is what everybody in the game does normally. They come through the game, we obviously abstract a lot of this out, but you can dig all the way right down to individuals' information. So one of our beta customers, for example, has a game that has 28,000 variables in it. But we'll provide them a very high-level abstract view like this, but if they want, they can dig the whole way down in to find out what are individuals doing or what are the key event paths. What we can then do is we can overlay information over these. So you can start seeing, for example, in this, the difference between people who complete the level and people who fail to complete the level in a game. And you can actually see very clearly where the divergence occurs and where the key areas within your game, in this instance, where you need to be addressing a problem, where you need to have a look. So you can go in, pull over the data again, have a look inside and go, oh, actually, you know what? Something's happening in the game. That's where I'm losing most of my players. What that means is then, when you look at things like retention rates, conversion and things, you'd normally look at a standard chart like this, but it doesn't really give you any context as to why what's happening. It just tells you something's going down. By overlaying behavioural data, though, we can start telling you which of the behavioural groups are actually driving that. So from there, you can figure out what are the actions that you need to be taking in your business to actually, improve their experience with you. So just in terms of the competitive landscape, as of a recent report just in April of this year, there's only about 10 companies at the moment for generating more than $5 million a year annual revenue from predictive analytics. It's a pretty virgin territory. And the reason for that is that most of the tools require either a high level of statistical and programmatic knowledge or a high level of one or the other. By high level, we're talking master's, PhD level. So it's out of the reach of most users, and only really within the realms of large enterprises such as this that can actually afford to deploy large amount of money and resource apps. What we're providing is low-touch predictive analytics. Basically, if you've been to school and you can use a calculator, you will be able to use our solution to start deriving real value from the prompts. And we execute on the business differently. We're not just disrupting how we do predictive analytics, it's how we deliver the service. We provide a free trial download, so no large enterprise sales cycle, 6 months, 9 months, trying to tie you into contracts. We give you a free trial download, you can upload up to 1 million to 2 million events, and you can start working on the system straight away and start getting some value from it. We have a strong third-party tool support program, so we've already done Flurry, we'll do for getting data in, things like Flurry, Google Analytics, Kissmetrics, Mixpanel, but then also for messaging platforms, we'll integrate things like SendGrid for email, MailChimp, Twilio for SMS and things like that in the future. So allow our customers to interact with their customers however they feel fit. And there's loads of integration. We already have out-of-the-box support for CSV file formats. We'll be doing things like integrations for databases, Hadoop, Mongo, SQL, etc. So again, making it really easy for our customers just to hook in and start getting the behavioural information they want out of their data. And we're really focused on a strong development community. I myself do a lot of work with the Irish startup community. I produce a lot of events here, so do a lot of my co-founders. So ranging from Python Ireland to Dublin Beta to Startup Weekend, Startup Digest, things like that. So we have a real strong development community focus. And we believe it's been the strength of companies such as Stripe, Twilio, and Engineering, and actually being successful internationally, is by making it really, really strong, developer-focused community. So in terms of our beta customers, as I mentioned, we've actually about 10 video games companies now already lined up. Video games primarily because there's a few market dynamics operating in there that are very good for us. Free-to-play games, you've probably played games where you haven't downloaded the game for free, Candy Crush Saga, things like this, and you haven't actually had to pay for the game. So the games industry is moving towards that, but traditionally games companies haven't done a lot of analytics. So they're fundamentally moving to a business model that requires them to know everything that the customers are doing, but most of them do nothing to actually understand what the customers are doing. So it's a good place for us to play, and they tend to have reasonably deep pockets, games companies, to good for us. And obviously we're involved in a project now with O2, so we've signed a contract with them. We're working on a project to see if we can improve their predictive models for them by using our technique as opposed to the traditional techniques that they use. Additionally, like I said, we're basically talking to other companies in e-commerce, retail, banking, finance as well. So just in terms of our team, I've over 15 years experience working in technology. I've worked for Microsoft, Vodafone, Motorola, a couple of different startups. I worked for a company back in the late 90s that pioneered Bluetooth technology internationally, so I've been around for a while. Daniel Kirsten, our CTO, has 12 years experience in programming, has twice represented Ireland in the Information Olympiads, has a lot of experience working on telco backends, embedded systems as well. And Jeff Parker, CEO, has a proven sales track record for the previous startup, Swaponomics. We also keep our thing, and we're big into our coders, our genius coders. So we've got 2 PhDs and a master's involved. So we've Owen Hurl with a PhD in predictive systems, Serena Fritsch, PhD in distributed systems, and Owen Kieran is our master's in interactive entertainment technology. I'm fundamentally a huge believer in getting the best talents out of colleges into my company. We've reached into UCD, DCU, Trinity, anywhere that has any kind of good computing program. We're pretty much trying to get involved with all of those. And we were really strong advisory board team. Somebody probably won't be familiar to you, but Eamon Leonard and David Collier, 2 of the most successful young entrepreneurs. Well, David's Canadian, but Eamon that Ireland's produced. They sold their company Orchestra, which was a platform for PHP developers back 3 years ago. And since then have become VP of development at Engineered. David Collier, data science at Engineered. Engineered is one of the biggest users of Amazon Web Services in the world. So they're great guys. Sean Blanchfield, who's the CEO of Escape Funds, and has been one of the most successful serial entrepreneurs I've just produced in the last 10 years. All of them younger than me, which is slightly annoying. So just in summary, basically we provide the insight into why customers are doing what they're doing, the actionable means to actually go out and talk to them, and the foresight to actually see what they're going to do in the future and they can interact with that. And that's us. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? You've been talking about gaining insights into people's behavior, and presumably that's mostly, say, online behavior that you can then link back to these companies. Now this bunch here is mostly interested also in urban issues.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask you to speculate a little bit about the potential uses of these insights and these methodologies also for gaining a better understanding of the urban environment. Can you say a few words about that, please?
Okay, so I suppose, one is, from our point of view, it's about where you get the data from, right? So in the context of an urban environment, the likes of your traffic systems and all the rest are all coming in loads of data. A lot of places that have sensor technology, and so our solution would be in a position to possibly tie some of that kind of thing back to individuals. So if somebody, for example, gave permission that you could use their data to see how they're interacting in the environment, and then you're getting other data sources, we can pull that together and start seeing how they're interacting with their environment, but also why they're doing that. Right? So, it was a rainy day that day, that's why they took the car, etc. But for us personally, it just comes down to where we get the data from. We do believe, however, that the move is definitely, the march is definitely on towards just increased amounts of data being gathered across the board everywhere. I think IBM recently stated that there's been more data trading for the last 2 years than has previously existed on human clients. So it's an inevitable march towards people gathering information, and then what we see our business, what we're doing is trying to actually sense all of that.
One of the old-fashioned method of just asking customers if they're satisfied with the product and if they're thinking of leaving. And it's easy to do that these days. You can send them a text and ask them if they're satisfied with O2, and then you have real data. People will tell you the truth.
They will sometimes, but a lot of people won't actually. A lot of people don't respond to surveys and things like that. Like if you look at open rates on emails and things like that, they're all tend to be under 10%. So as a delivery mechanism, that all works really well. As a way of actually probably getting information back, if you look at the amount of it you're getting back, it's probably a very, very small percentage. And really what it's about for us, the predictive thing, is to interact with a person before they even know themselves they're going to be making that decision. Right? You want to catch them before they, because yourself, it happens all the time. It happened to me recently, right? You hit that point where the straw that breaks the camel's back. That's it. I'm moving away from you. You've done it. You've annoyed me now. I don't want to be there. But it's at that point they're all like, oh well, I'll throw you more handsets. I'll give you the best deal ever. Right? You're like, well, where was that a week ago? And that's what we're really trying to do is to have those interactions happen before the person even themselves, and that's what in that sense.
I was wondering because it's. It looks really great from the perspective of a business to do that, but from the perspective of a user, do you see this going in a way where I can actually, as a user, also give input into what I am missing in the service, for example, when I'm using? Because now you're looking at my data, and then you're doing new offerings. The reason I'm asking is that for a while I was a member of this online panel, and they were asking me questions about a particular product that I liked. But when I joined, I hoped that I could tell them how to make their product better, because I didn't like the product. But all they were asking me is, if we change the color of the packaging, would you be more likely to buy it? If we do this campaign rather than this campaign, would you like to buy it? So it was more marketing focused than really making the product better.
Yeah.
So how does that
I suppose it comes down to what the feedback looks like to most companies. Like we have a messaging, we will have a messaging platform in there which allows people to interact, or at least allows business to interact with customers. It's not something that we, in terms of that getting the feedback in. But what I can tell you is there's companies like Intercom.io here in Ireland whose whole focus is about creating that kind of relationship with customers. So that if you're providing a web service or an app or anything like that, you can customers can basically start giving you feedback as they're using your product. But hey, you know what? I don't like this. I like that. And I think that increasingly technology startups like ourselves are much more concerned about what our actual customers have to say. There's all these lean startup principles. So I think that filters be it a consumer product or be it a B2B product. Our whole focus is, tell us what we're doing right and tell us what we're doing wrong. because by knowing that, we can make sure the product's the best product out there. So I think inherently we kind of do it now in a lot of startups. That's kind of the lean startup methodology is how you go about that. How you implement that into a large enterprise product for the consumer. I think that depends on the enterprise, right? Some will probably be more open to that kind of feedback, others will probably just think, oh, that's my product.
I suggest that I guess that this was going to provoke a lot of discussion. Okay. And what we're doing at the moment is we come together, it's about 50 odd people, and we are getting to know each other, and we're brainstorming in 2 days. Okay. So what I suggest is, we move on. Thank you so much.
No worries.
The next guy. But I can see when we come back and we discuss how we do things, we might end up knocking on your door. Okay.
More
Which is
than
the
happy to.
purpose of the exercise.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.